A Chalices and Kisses by Ravendagger. Chapter 6. Forgetting to Pay. Featherweight felt his cheeks becoming wet, despite the thick, hospital-issue blanket that was absorbing his tears as he jammed his head into it. "I'm so sorry," he sobbed, one hoof slung over the bed to touch Scootaloo's unmoving hoof. "It's all my fault. I love you, Scootaloo." There, I said it too late, but I said it. Oh, Celestia, not this. Anything but this. Heavy sobs escaped him, blocking his ability to breathe as an entire chest constricted painfully around his frail heart. A few moments passed. The only sound within the room were his gut-wrenching, yet silent cries, the slow ticking of a wall-mounted clock, and the monotone beep of the machine at Scootaloo's side. Finally, exasperated and shocked, Featherweight brought a hoof forward and gently caressed Scootaloo's exposed arm. "I've always loved you," he said, his voice now calm as his head raised bed's edge. "Ever since I first saw you, you were so beautiful, so full of life." He brought a small sarcastic laugh. "So full of yourself, too. But I loved you anyways. Your bright eyes, your deep love for your friends. I always wanted to love you, love that." Another burst of tears welled out of him, but this time his sobs were accompanied by a light sniffling from somewhere behind him. Turning slowly, Featherweight looked at a white earth pony with a Red Cross nurse cap on her head. The nurse was clutching at a damp cloth, which she used to dab at her eyes before speaking. "That was so beautiful. Go on," she implored, her voice crackling mid-sentence. Instead of doing as she asked, Featherweight faced her and bowed his head pleadingly. "Please, miss, is there anything you can do? Anything at all?" The nurse looked into his watery eyes for only a second before glancing away. "Oh, it's so cute," she said. "Cute? Cute? Scootaloo's dead and she thinks it's cute!" His mind screamed angrily. He took a deep calming breath. He knew full well there was nothing she could do. She trotted ahead of him, murmuring under her breath, "Oh, if any of my exes were as romantic as that." More dabbing her eyes as he leaned over Scootaloo's small frame. "What are you doing?" he inquired, curiosity resurfacing along with an inkling of hope. Instead of answering, the nurse pulled a cord from amongst the blankets. With a quick movement and practiced ease, the nurse clipped a cable on the Scootaloo's arm. Beep, 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 beep. The monotone signal changed to a steady rhythm as the heart machine's flat bar changed to that of a squiggly line. "She's not dead?" he asked, a clear note of pleading in his crackly voice. "Oh, poor dear, come here." The nurse ran up to him and seized him in a fierce hug to empty the sinking legs. "Of course she's not dead. Little Miss Scootaloo sometimes likes to move in her sleep is all. Oh, if only she had heard all that." "Excuse me 1 second, guys. Okay, just checked with my medical professional. No, it is not possible." Dread filled him as the nurse slowly backed away. She's not dead? And she heard me? This is horrible. This is worse than even when she was dead." What happened? I mean, what happened to Scootaloo?" Featherweight looked at his dearly beloved, just now noticing the repetitive rise and fall of her chest. "She came in yesterday afternoon. Poor girl had worked herself so hard trying to fly and doing goddess knows what that she worked up a fever. Dr. Dumas gave her a clean bill of health, just a bit rest and a few days off. Then, while cross-checking her documents, he noticed that she didn't get all of her vaccinations. Well, next thing you know, he's gone and ordered a full round of meds. The little child was too tired to fight it off. Oh, but her eyes told quite a tale when she saw those needles." "Uh-huh, and then what?" he asked, shaking his head to clear the cloud of confusion that surrounded him. Her shrill, gossipy voice did little to help. "Well, just so happens that she got an allergic reaction to the chickenpox vaccine. Knocked her right out. Well, that, and the sleeping medication for the fever. But don't worry, I read somewhere that sleeping patients hear everything that happens around them." He cringed. Okay, I'm back. I just checked with my medical professional, and she would just like to say that that last paragraph in that previous scene was bollocks. Thank you. Well, this one time, when I was in bed with Dr. Rass, he mumbled on about Band-Aid. That's the little temptress that works in radiology. Why, I kicked him out of bed so fast, he spent a week looking for a suture. The nurse gestured wildly with her forelimbs while he spoke. Why, just last week, Sweeps, that's the janitor on the second floor, wrote this cute little poem about me. You should see the thing, all pretty and nice. How did it go again? Something about me giving him aid after aiding my patients. Then one part said, Red Heart, that's my name, by the way. You make my heart beat as fat as my nethers. No, that's not quite it. Anyway, it was really cute. You got this nice lawyer pony to send it over? Wait, I'll go get it. With that, Red Heart scampered out of the room, the air sighing in time with Featherweight as he did so. Phew, I thought she'd never shut up, he said, before surveying the room one last time. A small table was placed beside Scootaloo's bed, a single flower wilting in a water jar atop it. Beside the flower lay the notepad and pencil. He hesitated, before skipping from hoof to hoof, before he finally hopped forward, and grabbing with both mouth and wing, the pencil scratched across the paper, that he scribbled as a quick note. There, that should do it, he said proudly, as he looked down at his handiwork. With a satisfied sigh, Featherweight walked to the edge of the doorway, casting Scootaloo a final glance before exiting the room. I hope they change the blanket before she wakes up. From deeper within the corridor, Nurse Redheart ran toward him with a heart-seeping-looking envelope within her smiling fat mouth. Uh-oh, better get out of here before she... The nurse, quickly catching on to his intentions, spat out the love layer. Wait! Don't go! You're the only one who will listen to my love life! Wait! He bolted. Foes were gathered together in small clumps, talking and laughing as they slowly moved away from the quaint schoolhouse. Featherweight stood at the edge of a nearby clearing, face contorted in an ugly frown, as his entire body puffed up and down, panting. His frown deepened as he peeked at the sun. The bright globe was low in the sky, where it was at every day at noon. Why are they leaving? He thought to himself. A white and brown spots caught his attention. Pipsqueak was smiling, beckoning him over with a wave of his hoof. Behind him, Sweetbell and Applebloom sat on the school's manicured but trashed lawn. One was peeking at him from beneath a lock of her purple hair, while her forehead twirled absently around. The other locked eyes with him. She was seething. Cautiously, Featherweight made his way to his friend and the two awaiting girls. Hi, guys! He called out, still uncertain. Featherweight! Answered Pipsqueak joyfully. We have been waiting for you forever! Said the small white earth pony as he ran up to him. Once the colt was close to him, Pipsqueak's demeanor changed as his voice dropped to a whisper. I got some good news for you, mate. He looked behind him and at the two fillies. Applebloom frowned back. I've set you up on a brilliant double date. A what? Featherweight stalled mid-step, swinging and furling to compensate. Wait, what? I was going to see Scootaloo! This crazy nurse chased me and... A double date. He shook his head to clear his muddled thoughts. Didn't help. A double date. Class ended early, so I arranged a little something between you and Sweetie and Applebloom and I. Don't worry, they don't know just yet. I covered it up with this clever story about exceeding project notes. Just then, Sweetbell looked up, finally staring into his eyes before twitching away, her face a deep red. This squeak, I'm going to kill you! Come on, mate, it's not that bad. Let's try it. I'll pay for lunch and everything. Pipsqueak's demeanor changed once more as the two fillies trotted over, Applebloom in the lead. Featherweight took that moment to check Sweetbell out. He never really paid her any heed before. She was short and scrawny, much more than Scootaloo, yet had a certain beauty to her, and the least hair that betrayed a good birth and bright mind. And if she grew up to look anything like her sister, he reasoned, then coughed awkwardly. She's sort of cute, I guess. And maybe we can use this to duck over yesterday's incident. Howdy, said Applebloom, somehow managing to conceal a threat within the simple greeting. Hi, Featherweight, added Sweetbell, her own voice calm and timid, the stellar opposite of the brass personality she showed the previous day. "Hi, girls," said Featherweight. For a few moments, an awkward silence loomed where every pony waited on the others to talk. "So, apparently we're going to be, cross-referencing those or something?" Yeah, while scratching the back of his head. "Right!" Pipsqueak piped, before running the ground past him. "Let's head to the restaurant first. My treat. And then we can start, all right?" Three ponies nodded uncertainly. "Right, it's a date then!" The dude blessed heavily. Slowly, the group followed their eager leader, and, within moments, Pipsqueak managed to wriggle out a conversation out of Apple Bloom. They talked about crops and Hugh's families, which seemed to put the tense Earth Pony at ease. Sweetbell, on the other hoof, was walking straight-limbed and giving an undue amount of attention to the ground before her. "So," said Featherweight, as he tried to break the silence. Immediately, Sweetbell's ears perked up. "Why is everybody out of school early? Did something happen?"
Sorta. Carrie and Twist had a presentation to do, and before they even finished, Miss Shirley flipped out. Apparently, they used the book from Miss Twilight's library, something about Carmen Sutra. She ran out of class talking about delivering a letter to herself.
"Gosh darn it, how do these books keep getting messed up? Spike! They're recent reference material, Twilight! Really!" "I'm gonna have a long talk with that dragon." The tension in her shoulders seemed to diminish as he talked. "And then what?" Featherweight pushed her on, preferring to hear her talk rather than wallowing in silence.
Nothing really. Every pony waited a bit. Then we started to leave. I guess we'll continue the project tomorrow. Pipsqueak came up to us and asked us if we wanted to go on a date.
The little pony coughed, sputtering her face bright red. Again, her face twisted away from him. He sighed under his breath and looked ahead. They were entering the town proper, where ponies gathered around to talk, gossip, and shout together, filling the air with a joyful cacophony. Aromas, fresh and tempting to the school-starved children, wafted out of many of a cracked open window, as families gathered for the quick luncheon indoors, or at one of the few small diners in town. Featherweight frowned as Pipsqueak led them past a couple more of the more popular and cheaper restaurants. But he remained quiet, letting his friend lead the way peacefully. Both his ears perked as a new sound drifted toward them. The not-so-happy screaming of two mares. The small group of four milled into a growing crowd. Above them, the tall branches of the library tree sprawled out into the bright mid-blue sky. "You sniveling, snot-nosed, impertinent brat!" screamed a familiar voice. "How stupid can you be to let a bunch of fools see that kind of thing?" Featherweight pushed ahead into the surging crowd and in between the two obese ponies. "Look, brat! Look, miss!" Their voice responded in a tone dripping with sarcasm. "I may be a bit younger than you, but you have no right to call me a brat!" Suddenly, a part of the crowd split, allowing Featherweight a great view of the two fighting mares. Miss Cheerily and Twilight Sparkle stood facing each other, teeth bared as they took turns yelling into each other's faces. The teacher's hair was in disarray as he pointedly stabbed a small pile of books that lay on the ground before her. "How dare you give such things to my students? They're fools, for Pete's sake!" "Oh, you insolent little—" The words were lost in the gasp of the crowd. One of Featherweight's eyebrows popped as he looked at both. "Well, this is different." Pipsqueak appeared at his side, and they both exchanged a look before backing into the crowd once again. "That was odd, to say the least," said Pipsqueak, his face contorted into a rueful smile. The girls stepped out of turn, both of them wearing small frowns. "Come on, girls, we're almost there," the white and brown Earth Pony added, as if nothing had happened at all. First, Sweetbell, then Apple Bloom shrugged and began following him, leaving Featherweight behind to take one last glance at the spectacle. "It's not my fault you never taught your students to differentiate between genetics and genitals!" Shuddering, Featherweight ran after his small group. By the time he caught up to them, they were waiting by the entrance of a restaurant, a fancy one. A waiter wearing a tuxedo arched an eyebrow at their arrival, but opened the entryway for them nonetheless. Inside, thick smells of expensive wine and well-cooked and excited vegetables assaulted their noses. Some of the clientele turned to look at them before returning to their overpriced meals. 4 sets of hooves clacked against the newly veneered floor, while the waiter led them forwards.
"Could we have a seat on the balcony?"
asked Pipsqueak. The waiter nodded, smoothly changing directions. As they walked by, Featherweight caught sight of a young couple. Both of them entwined over their table, mouths stuck together as they made disgusting little slopping sounds. "Lyra, Bon, there are kids present!" He looked ahead, face burning up. Sweet Belle was looking at him, eyes facing occasionally towards the couple. His blush deepened. They stepped outside once more into the large wooden deck, decorated by the long flowing flowers that twined around the many bars, separating the balcony from the quiet roadway. Thick bushes cut the sound from the mingling ponies beyond, most of which were streaming away from the house library. Miss Cheerily and Twilight were nowhere in sight. The waiters shoved them to their seats with a quick and practiced flourish. Pipsqueak sat beside Featherweight, while the 2 fillies sat on the opposite end of the table. Sweetie facing Featherweight, and Applebloom in front of Pipsqueak. Pipsqueak ordered for them 4 sandwiches with small salads on the side, as well as drinks. He sat there, smiling blindly as the sun burnt holes to their heads. Without warning, he faced Applebloom and managed to start a small, grunting conversation with her. Sweet Belle opened her mouth, then shut it, then opened it once more. She turned and faced the street, eyes averted away from Featherweight. "This is going to be a long, long lunch," Featherweight told himself. "So, how did your project go?" he asked. Sweetie whirled toward him.
"Oh, we haven't presented it yet. It's okay, I guess."
Uh-huh.
Yeah.
Featherweight scratched the back of his head, desperately starting for something interesting to say.
"So, I wanted to say sorry,"
Sweetie Belle began, a forearm idly tracing along the wooden lines of the table. With a slight shake of her head, her hair flipped forwards and covered her face.
"Sorry for the other day, you know, and, I kissed you."
Pipsqueak coughed, and Applebloom cut mid-sentence to stare at the filly beside her. Sweetie Belle's face practically glowed. The glow was soon mimicked by Featherweight as their 2 friends cast their attention on him. "Oh boy, I can explain," he winced. Then Pipsqueak winked at him. "This is getting worse and worse by the minute." The waiter chose that moment to slide a tray under the table. 4 dainty sandwiches and drinks were quickly placed on the table. "I sincerely hope you enjoy your meal," he said before walking away. The smell of freshly baked bread wafted around them, making more than one stomach grumble. No pony touched their meal.
"What in our lives has happened?"
Avalon demanded, as she stared daggers at Featherweight. Her hoof flew across the table, grabbed the Pegasus, and pulled him halfway across, smothering the sounds and spilling his drink in the process.
"That's it! I'm dead! Stop!"
shouted Sweet Belle. She pushed down on Applebloom's arm, her face tearing up.
"It's not his fault! I'm the one that did! I kissed him!"
Some of the other customers looked at them, curiosity marking all of their features. Even the young couple turned and smiled knowingly, a thin sand of saliva hanging between them.
"Look at you,
Caius," Applebloom pointed at Featherweight.
him!"
Sweet Belle nodded meekly under her friend's glare.
It wasn't on purpose. Sorta.
"Sorta?" Pipsqueak sighed, lifting a hoof as if he were asking a question. Or maybe a surrender.
"Calm down, Applebloom. I'm sure it was just a harmless peck. I'm sure. No pony wants to make a scene."
"God knows we want to keep this private." Featherweight had the horrible impression that this was going to be very public, very soon.
"Maybe I should move elsewhere. Like Appaloosa or somewhere even farther. I wonder if I could live with the Diamond Dogs." "Shut up, Pipsqueak!" barked the Earth Pony. "You don't know what you're talking about. I'm tired of hearing your white thumbs."
She got up, pulling away from the table in disgust. Featherweight watched as Pipsqueak followed her, his face contorting in a silent yet irate smile.
"Wake up, Appin! We should talk!"
Before leaving, he winked at Featherweight and mouthed good luck. For a while, peace returned to their cozy corner of the restaurant. Sweet Belle shrugged self-consciously as Featherweight leaned back into his seat, wingtips rubbing his temples.
"When did everything become so complicated?" he wondered. All I ever wanted was to be with Scootaloo.
A small scraping sound cut through his thoughts. Sleepbell had slid Apple Bloom's sandwich over him, circumventing his now own squashed one in the process.
You should eat, she whispered. You look hungry.
He was ready to deny it, but the mouth-watering scent and his lack of solid food in the last 12 hours decided otherwise.
Thanks!
They ate, quietly munching on the delicious, if a little pricey, meal.
I am sorry. I truly am, she said.
A sliver of orange crossed his mind, but was quickly suppressed by cold logic and reasoning. Wasn't he in the same boat with Scootaloo?
It's okay. I know what it's like to chase after someone you like, only to hit a wall. Scootaloo?
He gulped.
That's it. This day can't get any worse! How does he know?
She finally smiled, a genuine heartfelt smile that seemed to radiate happiness.
You know these things when you spend enough time looking at some pony.
She's cute, he decided. Really cute, in that freaky stalker sort of way. They resumed their meal. The atmosphere had changed. A little less tense and still awkward, but now slightly jovial in its own way. Then Sleebell dropped the bomb.
I've been thinking, how are we going to pay for this?
Crap! Crap! Darn it!
Chapter 7. Dressing up.
So, what should we do? Featherweight asked, as he essentially pushed his plate away.
Great, just great. I had to listen to Pipsqueak, genius!
Sleebell remained quiet, almost reserved, as he glanced around the restaurant. The couple in the corner were acting a little lewd. The waiter went from table to table, making polite chit-chat and checking on his tip donors. Some of the ponies got up and left, pointedly leaving piles of change on their paid bills. The unicorn leaned forward, moving her hoofs to tone the same. Frowning, Featherweight obeyed, ears perking toward the filly. She whispered,
Maybe we should just leave?
Just leave? Featherweight pushed away from the table, staring at the white and pink unicorn with new, and not to mention wide, eyes.
She wants to get up and just leave? But it's a crime! What if we get caught? Oh, goddess, we'll both be banned to the moon. Then I'll have to spend the rest of my life on a rock with a girl that isn't Scootaloo!
He shuddered, and yet couldn't find a solution. Just then, Sleebell raised her arm and signaled to wait her over. The Pegasus' breath cut, his chest constricting as the dull, tart, serving pony at the edge of the table.
Yes, miss. Is there anything I could do for you?
He asked, while glancing at the TNT seats.
Yes. Could we have a souffle and 2 banana splits, please?
She asked calmly, beaming up at him sweetly.
The waiter blinked. Of course. I can get that for you, miss. I must warn you. It might take a little while, and it might be...
Sleebell interrupted.
If you make it a little faster, we'll tip you extra.
From somewhere, Featherweight never saw where, she pulled out 2 1-bit coins and set them on the edge of the table. She winked down. The waiter swiped his hoof forward, surprising both of them as the cast disappeared.
I'll be right round,
he said, before giving them both a quick bow and departing.
What the heck was that all about?
Featherweight huffed. Sleebell glared at him. A tiny, inoffensive thing that did nothing to intimidate.
We can't run away from here if he's staring right at us. Come on, we need to go.
She climbed to her seat, nonchalantly slurring towards the far end of the chair, before peeking over the edge of the balcony. She shook her head towards the ground below.
She's crazy. Outright crazy. Completely nuts. That's a 3-meter drop. I can make it, but...
Sleebell let down a smirk.
You coming?
Before Featherweight could do anything, the filly grabbed the edge with 2 hoofs and swung herself over the guardrail, her pink and purple plane fluttering before Featherweight's eyes as she dropped out of view.
What?
He asked, clutching at air. The second, he too was at the rail, half his body dangling over as he looked below. There was a bush, a big bush, of a white filly stuck right in the middle, gathering and smiling at him.
Come on, hurry,
she called, just above the whisper.
Right, a bush. She's safe.
Why was I worried about her? Shaking the thought away, Featherweight looked over at his shoulder at the mostly empty dining area and jumped. His wings snapped on either side of him, slowly to descend before he crashed into the same bush. Leaves flew everywhere, and more than one branch snapped loudly as he landed in a quasi-hug atop Sleebell. They lay there, panting on the edge of laughter as both tried to wiggle out from under the awkward position. After a few moments of grunting, kicking, and clutching at thorny branches later, both of them were huddled beneath the shrub, backs against the building as they tried to catch their breath. "Hello!" came the voice from above that froze the blood of both young ponies. "Young miss, your souffle is ready." "Damn it! I knew I shouldn't have trusted that pipsqueak brat, not with what he did to my wife! Hot stuff, so where are those kids?" They heard the sounds of Angry Host trotting away from the edge, letting out a whistling puff of air as they'd been holding back. "We need to get out of here," Featherweight said. Sleepbell nodded and climbed out ahead of him, her tail idly tickling the ends of his nose as she squeezed past. Featherweight coughed and paid very close attention to a crack invading the building's walls. He joined Sleepbell on the roadway, and both of them, in one accord, trotted toward the back of the building and into the shade of the nearby library tree, where no one could see them from the restaurant. Sleepbell shook herself, legs and a few twigs cascading off of her into the ground near the tree's real exit. "Good idea! We must look mad!" He fluffed out his wings, shook his entire body, aware of Sleepbell's eyes on him the entire time. "You have pretty wings," she said, then caught herself, blushing deeply. The filly turned away and took a few more steps toward the library. Sighing, Featherweight followed her. Using the mandible tips of his wings, he plucked a twig from her mane, eliciting a very surprised look from the mare. Thanks," she whispered, before casting her gaze elsewhere. Her face was still beet red, but he was smiling just a little. "Right, this is getting on," he thought after a few moments of baking beneath his own blush. Just as he opened his mouth to speak, another familiar voice spoke out, muffled. "Oh, those studies in biology really do show." Another voice spoke, this one obviously trying to sound steaming. "Why, thank you. I do try to study every interesting thing about ponies, and I must say your thing is very interesting." Featherweight and Sleepbell glanced at each other. "Was that Miss Curly?" They frowned at the tall tree beside them, edging forward. "I must say, I always did admire your brain, but other parts of you fascinated me very much as well. Your thighs are very firm." Giggling, but joyous, made his way through the hall. "You try standing in front of the class all day, not to mention reaching the very top of that board." Featherweight stared another look with the filly at his side. "What the hey are they talking about?" She shrugged. "Speaking of which, how about we get started?" The voice was trailed off as the first laughed aloud. From somewhere on the second story, loud rumbling was heard, and a few things thumped on the ground repeatedly. Sleepbell grabbed his foreleg, holding on tight as he stared from the second story window in fear. "Maybe they're hurt?" "Ah!" Loud moaning from above only justified her train of thoughts. "Wait here!" Featherweight sighed, slowly easing himself out of her grip. "I'll go take a peek." Fussing himself up, the Pegasus kicked off the ground, flapping wildly until he caught a hold of the window's banister. Inside, the room was a dimly lit mess. Couches had been moved aside, and drapes on all the other windows had been firmly shut. Featherweight kept searching for the two mares he heard, but couldn't find them. Two forms tumbled into the clear center of the room, one pink and the other lavender. Sleepbell below was pacing back and forth, occasionally glancing up at him. "What's going on?" she asked. "I'm not sure. Looks like Miss Shirley is riding on top of Miss Twilight, and they're both wearing weird clothes. Oh, Twilight flipped Shirley over, and now she's grabbed her from behind. Her face is an odd place." Unicorn below frowned at him. "Yeah, okay, but what were they doing?" "I think they're wrestling," he said, pushed away, flapping a few times before smoothly landing beside Slee. "Wrestling?" He shrugged in time with a particularly loud moan. "Maybe it's their hobby or something? You know, judo?" "Maybe," Sleepbell agreed. She looked down pensively, then looked up again suddenly. I should get going. My sister's home today and she might get worried." "Oh, I was actually maybe starting to have fun." He scratched the back of his head. "Well, at least let me walk you home. I live past you anyway." Sleepbell positively beamed at him, before subduing herself a little cough.
Thank you. That's very tentaclous of you, she said, mimicking her sister as he moved a little to his side. Right. Just get her home. Don't say goodbye, don't get snogged, and go home. Safe, right? He began walking, and was slightly disturbed to see her match his pace. They distanced themselves from the library tree, and headed into the deeper parts of town, using roads that were quiet and only sparsely filled with wayward ponies. Midway through their voyage, Sleepbell leaned towards Featherweight, her tail twisting with his own in each way of her hips. I need to do something about this. Taking a half step away from her, he searched his mind for any interesting conversation piece. Her favorite food? Too personal. Last Crusader adventure? Yeah, this is probably it. Stuffs about Scootaloo? Too awkward. Finally, he sat for now ideas. He looked at her and noticed her horn. Must be really cool being a unicorn and all. He began, hoping she would talk away.
Well, I guess.
She sighed away. Just a little? I mean, you can levitate stuff and teleport and do all sorts of nifty things, right? She fumbled around a little.
Well, I guess, but you really need to practice hard, and not every pony's good at it first.
He playfully tapped her shoulder, a slightly strange smile on his face. I'm sure you're great at it.
Well, I can levitate things a bit better now,
she said demurely.
Want to see?
Sure, what could go wrong? I could die, he thought. Sleepbell slowed to a stop, only a few dozen steps away from Carousel Boutique's side entrance. Furrowing her brow in concentration, the filly's horn glowed a deep white that was mimicked by a nearby rock. Gently, the rock floated up and effortlessly glided its way towards Sleepbell. Whoa, that's so cool, he said as he leaned in, low, towards the glowing rock. Shivered slightly. From his lower position, he looked up at Sleepbell and gasped. Each and every one of her hairs was poking out at odd angles. But because of that, they formed a halo around her head, reflecting the serene light. You're very pretty when you do that, he said. The rock slammed forward, smashing into Featherweight's face with the force of a small freight train. Blam! It kept falling across the yard, only to crash at the paved entrance of the store with a squishy thud. Featherweight! Sleepbell shrieked as she ran toward him. Are you okay? Did I kill you? Yes, sweetie, you killed me, Featherweight thought. All that escaped him was a rough groan. Somewhere above him, he heard a door opening with a slight screech. Groaning again, he looked up into Rarity's dazzling face. She sighed upon looking at him. What did you do now, sweetie? I killed Featherweight, the filly sobbed. He could feel her hose grabbing at his side, poking and prodding him. Not dead, he croaked weakly. Yet, he added in thought. Verity finally spared the time to inspect him and his bruises.
So, this is the famous Featherweight,
she mused. Somewhere behind him, he could feel a massive heat source. He cemented it with Susie's face. Nancy surrounded him, lifting him gently before whisking him into the room. Come, we'll bandage him up. Then maybe he could try on a new outfit or two. I have just the thing. Randy dropped him in the center of the room, where he began massaging the side of his head. Come with me, Sweetie. What are those things in your mane? He glanced around. Sleepbell was in front of him, sitting on the ground with an expression of pure sorrow and worry on her features, as she glanced in the direction that Rarity had walked off towards. He glanced around at the impressive room. Every wall had a massive window, and in every window there was a mannequin wearing a different ensemble, each one more nightmarish than the last.
Can't I stay with him?
She asked her sister. Rarity answered, with voice distant, but it still carried a strong, suggestive undertone.
What did you rather impress him? Come along, sweetie. We must get some things to help your little coach friend.
This without Edwell. He waited, one hoof tenderly touching the growing welt that was forming right above his forehead. Right, first things first, I had to get out of here. Whose steps sounded from the doorway. Too late! Freddy slid into view, his swaying provocatively in such a fashion that Featherweight took a long moment to notice the pile of bandages alongside her. She sat down in front of him, head tilted upwards, as he looked at the bottom of her wire-framed glasses at his head. Just,
Sweetie! Sweetie!
She sighed, and floated out a small tube of ointment. With 20 screens of magic, a drop of liquid flew out of the bottle and spread itself on his forehead.
She's such a sweet little filly. I'll bet if I did sometimes, but real sweet. Oh, and that voice of hers. Can't you ever heard her sing?
Featherweight gave a slight shake of his head.
I can guarantee that in a few years, every cult on this side of Canterlot will be lining out our door. I don't know how to get a beating stick.
She smiled the type of smile worn by an elder sibling, maybe a proud mother. She leaned forward and wrapped a thin cloth around his head, cinching it tightly before placing her face inches away from his own. In a sweet, sickery voice, she whispered,
If you ever hurt her feelings, I will end you.
Featherweight gulped as Rarity picked up her stuff and began trotting away. She stopped mid-stride, but was just about the right distance of ground to show off her flanks.
Oh, and she's about to show off her prettiest dress to you. This thing means a lot to us. We made it together. You will like it. No, you will love it. Then I will dress you up in a fashion she finds adorable, and not one bit will escape your little nuts.
With expert ease, she levitated half a dozen scissors from out of the rack and a long piece of flowing cloth. In midair, the sharp face whirled around the cloth, ripping and tearing through it. When all was done, a cutout of a male Pegasus waved it in the air before tumbling down. Before even lying on the ground, the scissors were raised back in their respective sheaths.
Capiche?
He nodded, eyes following the back of her head as she left the room. I might die today after all. He didn't have long to wait. Sweetbell trotted in for the same side door as Rarity exited. It was early followed by her overly happy sister. His jaw dropped. From head to hoof, Sweetbell was draped in a luxurious gown. The flowing curves and ample yet simple detailing made her look much older, not to mention elegant. Stylish lines were cut through the material at a few paces, exposing her shoulders at the edges of her flanks in a way that made her look taller and slimmer. The edges of her eyes and lips just had the tiniest amount of purple makeup that seemed to glow as she smiled slyly this way. He snapped his mouth shut and gulped. She's sort of really good looking. She did a little twirl in front of him, while Rarity practically gussed at his side.
Oh, wait! The mayor exclaimed. I'll get my camera and there's something for you.
The mayor ran out of the room, the little cutout of the Pegasus fluttering as he whirled by. Featherweight used the opportunity to mouth the words, "Save me," to Sweetbell. She tilted her head to one side and inspected him closely. He small stepped forward, just as Rarity returned, the camera floating on one side, the unholy nightmare of all males on the other.
Oh no, I forgot to film. Cece, be a dear confessor for me, will you, please?
Betty asked, batting her eyebrows at her sister. Sweetbell smiled and nodded, trotted out of the room, moving her hips the way her sister always did. Featherweight couldn't help but blushing. That dress really did accentuate certain things.
But this on!
Verity ordered, when Sweetie had left. She tossed the white and blue ensemble his way, and landed with a dull thud at his hooves. He looked at her, eyes filling with tears as he pleaded. Her smile strained on the edges. With supreme self-control, Featherweight picked the outfit off the ground and slipped on both parts, crimsoning as the velvety material slipped along his coat. Finally, all that was left on the ground was a small, flat-topped white cat.
Do I have to? He squeaked. Oh yes, you do. You two will look quite appropriate in the cupboard.
Or else! The brilliant flash of sunlight off the sharp edge of scissors caught his attention. Demurely, he reached down to put the cap over his head, just as Sweetie's returned.
I couldn't find the film anywhere, she told her sister.
Rarity produced a small black cylinder out of nowhere.
Dear me, seems like I had it all along. Get into place now, sweetie.
For the first time since entering the room, the filly's eyes roamed towards Featherweight and stuck onto him. She let out a small gasp. Her gaze twitched over him, for the little blue bow that topped his chest, the seemingly too tight pants that squeezed his thighs. She even lingered on the blue and white striped lapels. With a giddy squeal, she galloped across the room and plopped herself down at his side. She likes this sort of thing? I need to reevaluate my priorities in life. Rarity filled with the camera, while Sweetbell made herself very comfortable close by his side. Very close. He could smell her mane at that range. Faint smell of lilacs and wild berries that brought water to his mouth.
Smile!
Rarity said cheerfully. Featherweight looked into the camera's objective and glared. The device dropped a few inches, revealing his painted, strained face of the mare behind it.
Smile!
He did. Nervously, but he did. The camera flashed a few times in quick succession before Rarity put it down.
Perfect! But that outfit, Featherweight has isn't quite refined enough.
Oh, Celestia, no!
Rarity gasped. Whew! Losing one hope in exclamation. I have this wonderful little onesie. I'll be right back.
Featherweight grabbed Sweetbelle by both shoulders, bringing his tear-stained face close to her own. Get me out of here! No matter what it takes, just get me out of here!
She looked at him, eyes wide and shocked, before blinking a few times. Hi, are you okay? She whispered consolingly. He shook his head. Come on, follow me. She turned around, the edges of her robe skimming the ground lightly, as he led him to the side of the room, and out the door in the opposite one Rarity had passed. It was a kitchen. A simple, rustic kitchen, with a slightly messy countertop. The remaining crumbs of that morning's breakfast were still on the table, beside an empty glass of juice. The chairs were pulled out, open, welcoming. It's a nice place, I guess, thought Featherweight as he sneaked along. She led him to a back door, where a familiar face was looking through a glass pane. Pipsqueak took one good look at Featherweight in his sailor boy outfit and rolled backwards, his uncontrollable giggles loud even through the thick door. Not caring one bit, Featherweight tore open the door and ran out, panting at the door's edge from the sudden decrease in pressure. I'm sorry, Sweetbelle said from behind him. He turned, still halfway in the doorway, and faced her. Inwardly, he sighed. It's not her fault. Her sister's crazy one. He opened his mouth to say as much, but as he did so, Sweetbelle's lips met his. He tried to talk, but only ended up making guttural mumbling sounds. Pipsqueak stopped laughing mid-note at his side, and was looking at him with a sly smile, an archway. Rarity watched around the corner, just as Sweetbelle broke down from the kiss, with a disgusting little squish sound. Sweetie, have you seen Feather? Sweetbelle panicked. Horn glowed briefly as he scurried back. The door shivered, then slammed shut. Featherweight was still in the doorframe. For a second time that day, the colt was thrown through the air, his white and blue outfit masking him to the open sky for a short while. This time, as he landed in a confused, painful heap, he didn't give up. I give up. I'll never understand mares.